Good evening, you are watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. The Children's Public Library is opened in Muscat to fulfil the needs of Omani children. At a cost exceeding 400 million Omani Rials, the Musandam gas treatment and power plants are opened in the Walaya of Bukha. And the State Council Office reviews studies on citizens' standard of living and a report on value-added tax and its impact on the Omani economy. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos has sent a cable of condolences to His Excellency Dr. Hassan Rouhani, President of the Islamic Republic of Iran, on the victims of the earthquake that struck the Iraq-Iran border region. A ceremony was held for the opening of the Children's Public Library in Muscat under the auspices of His Highness Syed Haytham bin Tariq Al Sayed, Minister of Heritage and Culture. The library has 12,000 titles and could accommodate 70,000 others in future. It targets children within the age group 3 to 17. Its facilities are designed to be suitable for children, and it also includes technologies to help children with special needs. The library was built on an area of 9,000 square metres and provides books in both Arabic and English languages, in addition to e-books and audio story services. The opening of the library came within government and private efforts and the significance of the role of libraries in general in the intellectual field in enhancing the knowledge of the young. Within the framework of the Sultanate's celebration of the 47th Glorious National Day, His Highness Syed Mansour bin Majid bin Taimur Al Sayed opened the Musandam gas treatment and power plants in the Walaya of Bukha. Musandam gas treatment plant, which cost approximately 346 million Omani Rials, treats oil and gas produced from offshore Bukha with a production capacity of 45 million cubic feet of gas and 20,000 barrels of condensates per day. Meanwhile, the Musandam power plant, with a cost of more than 93 million Omani Rials, will produce 120 megawatts of power. It is worth mentioning that the cost of both projects exceeded 400 million Omani Rials and came within the government's strategic plan to supply gas for power generation and to provide infrastructure for economic and industrial projects. Assigned by His Majesty Sultan Qaboos, His Excellency Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdullah Al Hanai, State Advisor, presided over the graduation ceremony of the 28th batch of students from the Colleges of Humanities Studies in Sultan Qaboos University. The number of graduates in Humanities Studies were 1,409 from a total of 3,227 graduates this year. The graduates expressed their delight after years of hard work and dedication, looking forward to enriching the labour market with their skills and knowledge and to help push the wheel of development in the Sultanate. Establishing free zones in the governorates of Baremi and Musandam topped discussions of the State Council Office in its 13th meeting. The Council also reviewed studying the standard of living of the citizens and a report on added value tax and its impacts on the Omani economy. It also discussed the Economic Committee's decision on talking to the bodies concerned about the issued laws before issuing the basic law of the state, as well as Watani programme for government work performance. His Excellency Dr. Yahya bin Manfooth Al Manthri, Chairman of the State Council, headed the meeting. The Sultanate presented an official request to the United Nations Secretary-General to extend limits of its territorial continental shelf. The Sultanate started the procedures for the extension agreement in 2009. According to the 1982 United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, the Sultanate is allowed to expand limits of its continental shelf for a distance of between 200 to 350 nautical miles. This grants the Sultanate the right to explore non-living resources like oil, gas and others, in addition to carrying out scientific researches and creating a database to benefit from this natural wealth. The request was presented on behalf of the Omani government by His Excellency Ambassador Sheikh Khalifa bin Ali Al Houthi, the Sultanate's permanent envoy to the United Nations. Still to come in our news bulletin. Petroleum Development Oman signs an agreement with Muscat University in the field of scientific research and development. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. Saudi Arabia said today that the coalition fighting rebels in Yemen will begin reopening airports and seaports in the country days after closing them over a rebel ballistic missile attack on Riyadh. The announcement from the Saudi mission at the United Nations came after the coalition fighting Yemen's rebels, known as Houthis, and their allies face widespread international criticism over the closure, with the UN and over 20 aid groups saying it could bring millions of people closer to starvation and death. Those ports are in Aden, Mocha and Mukalla. For ports in rebel-held or disputed territories like Hadida, the mission said it had asked the UN to send a team of experts to discuss ways to make sure weapons can't be smuggled in. Aden, the capital of Yemen's internationally recognized government, has seen shortages of fuel after the coalition closed all of the country's borders last week, including areas controlled by their allies. A powerful 7.3 magnitude earthquake that struck the Iraq-Iran border region killed over 330 people in both countries, sent people fleeing their homes into the night, and was felt as far west as the Mediterranean coast. In Iraq, the earthquake killed at least 7 people and injured 535 there, all in the country's northern semi-autonomous Kurdish region. Many houses collapsed and were damaged by the quake in the worst affected town of Darban-Dikan. An Iraqi seismologist said the main reason for the lower casualty figure in Iraq was the angle and direction of the fault line in this particular quake, as well as the nature of the Iraqi geological formations that could better absorb the shocks. The quake was centered 31 kilometers outside the eastern Iraqi city of Halabja. It struck at a depth of 23.2 kilometers, a shallow depth that can have broader damage. A spokesman for the Philippines President Rodrigo Duterte said today that the plight of Myanmar's Rohingya minority was raised during the Association of Southeast Asian Nations meetings in Manila. He said that at least 2 member states raised the issue at the plenary session, at which Myanmar leader Aung San Suu Kyi informed them what her government is doing with regard to the situation. More than 600,000 Rohingya Muslims have crossed over from Myanmar to Bangladesh since August, when Myanmar security forces responded to militant attacks with a broad crackdown that witnessed killing and arson. He also touched upon today's bilateral meeting between Duterte and US President Donald Trump and said the relationship between the two leaders appears to be very warm and friendly. The governors of 4 US Climate Alliance states underlined today that the international community can count on US states as partners when it comes to climate action. Film star and former governor of California, Arnold Schwarzenegger, also attended the panel discussion alongside Governor Edmund G. Brown Jr. from California, Governor Jay Inslee from Washington, Governor Kate Brown from Oregon, and Governor Terry McAuliffe from Virginia. Diplomats, environmentalists and businesses from 195 countries are thrashing out details to implement the 2015 Paris Climate Accord during the November 6 to 17th talks in Bonn, Germany. While big decisions won't be taken until next year's meeting in Poland, negotiators need to make progress on complex issues, including transparency and setting new emissions targets to meet the goal of keeping global warming significantly below 2 degrees Celsius. In silence and tears, families of France's deadliest extremist attacks stood alongside President Emmanuel Macron to honour the 130 people killed 2 years ago this day when militants attacked Paris. Security was tight but low profile for the memorial events, part of the new normal in France since November 13, 2015. The commemoration started at the Stade de France National Stadium to honour the first victim of the night's violence and continued at Paris cafes where city officials read out the names of the 29 people gunned down while dining and enjoying the balmy night. The attacks that night ushered in nearly 2 years of a state of emergency, replaced just 2 weeks ago with a tough counter-terrorism law allowing police wider latitude against anyone with suspected links to radicalism. All but one of the attackers were killed, and counter-terrorism authorities are still looking for suspects involved in the attacks. Back to some more local news. His Excellency Yusuf bin Alawi bin Abdullah, Minister responsible for Foreign Affairs, received His Excellency Ali bin Sharif Al Ahmadi, Qatari Finance Minister. During the meeting, they discussed aspects of cooperation in economic, commercial and investment fields between the Sultanate and Qatar. They also reviewed the brotherly relations between both countries. Discussing aspects of joint cooperation between the Sultanate and Cyprus and means of improving them, as well as developments in the regional and international arenas, were the centre of discussions between His Excellency Yusuf bin Alawi bin Abdullah, Minister responsible for Foreign Affairs, with His Excellency Dimitris Silaris, President of the House of Representatives in Cyprus, who is on a current visit to the Sultanate. Reviewing aspects of joint cooperation between the Sultanate and Cyprus in the tourism field and throwing the light on the tourism development being witnessed by the Sultanate, top discussions at the meeting of His Excellency Ahmed bin Nasser Al Marazi, Minister of Tourism, with His Excellency Dimitris Silaris, President of the House of Representatives in Cyprus, who is on a current visit to the Sultanate. During the meeting, specialists from the Ministry of Tourism presented a number of visual presentations on the Omani strategies for tourism, the touristic potentials of Oman, and the prospect of tourism investment. The project of the National Strategy for Urban Development, as well as the pillars and goals it includes, was the main topic discussed by the Municipal Council in Muscat in its 10th meeting. The Council was also briefed on the project status and approved the recommendations raised by the Public Affairs Committee with regard to putting up regulations and conditions to allow practicing some commercial activities inside residential neighbourhoods. The Sultanate is on the verge of economic growth in the energy sector, especially with the expected rise in international oil prices. This came at an intellectual session about the economy and energy, which was organised by the Competency Development Institute, affiliated to the Diwan of Royal Court. The session reviewed basic concepts of the energy sector with a focus on oil, gas and renewable energy resources, in addition to discussions on oil price changes and its effects on the local and international economy. To enhance local added value through academic and professional development programmes, as well as save larger quantities of the oil and gas sector revenues inside the Sultanate, Petroleum Development Oman signed an agreement with Muscat University in the field of scientific research and development. The agreement aimed to find solutions for complex technical challenges that face companies' activities, besides providing the students with skills to develop their technical experiences through training in the company and to exchange the best practices in the field of knowledge management. It will also encourage small and medium enterprises and entrepreneurs to conduct basic technical researches in university laboratories. The Scientific Foundation to conduct the medicine clinical audit in health institutions topped the discussions of a workshop organised by the Ministry of Health at Oman Medical College in Bausha. The discussion focused on the safe and logical use of medicine in light of the expansion of specialised health services that require using the latest medication which does not have enough information. It also focused on prescribing suitable medicine to the patient based on the treatment period and number of dosages. A number of pharmacists from various countries participated in the event. A press conference was held at Muscat Securities Market to reveal that Oman telecommunications company Omantel won the public auction for the purchase of a 21.09% share from Zain Kuwait company. The conference aimed to clarify the vision of Omantel's deal and the reasons behind the company's involvement in a huge investment in the field of telecommunications, considered the biggest in the region. Omantel's CEO explained that the financing of the acquisition will be through several financial instruments, including a loan by several banks, in addition to other means such as bonds for periods ranging from 5 to 10 years. Now for the general weather forecast around the Sultanate. Clear skies will prevail over the Sultanate with chances of dust-raising wind over desert areas and low clouds and fog late at night and early morning over the Governorate of South Shakya. Winds will be northerly to northwesterly, light to moderate. Seas will be slight with a maximum wave height of 1.25 metres. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. The Children's Public Library is opened in Muscat to fulfil the needs of Omani children. At At a cost exceeding 400 million Omani riyals, the Musandam gas treatment and power plants are opened in the Wilaya of Bukhara. And the State Council Office reviews studies on citizens' standard of living and report on value-added tax and its impact on the Omani economy. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, it's good night.